Many skiers and riders don't know about the world's longest ski runs. Some of these runs stretch into multiple different countries, have hotels halfway down to take a rest, and can take up to 6 hours to get from the top to the bottom. Today, we'll take you through the world's 10 longest ski runs that are spread all over, from the Rockies to South America and even out to the Alps in Europe. Our first stop brings us to the Canadian Rockies at Kicking Horse for the run called It's a 10. Kicking Horse is known for their extreme terrain and freestyle competitions, but they also have a run called It's a 10 that is 6.2 miles or 10 kilometers long. Despite Kicking Horse having mostly challenging terrain, It's a 10 is a run that is relatively easy for most skiers that stretches from the very peak to the base. It's a 10 is just about the only easy run you can take from the peak of Kicking Horse, and this run certainly makes its way across the entire mountain. While skiers and riders' main reason for going to Kicking Horse may not be to check out their easier terrain, It's a 10 is still a must for anybody looking to take a relaxing ride down one of Canada's most iconic mountains. The next longest ski run in the world is anything but easy, as it takes place at Jackson Hole, Wyoming, known for being a steep and deep mountain. Rendevous Bowl to the base stretches an insane 11 kilometers or 6.8 miles and racks up 4,100 feet of vertical descent. To get to Rendezvous Bowl from the base of the mountain actually doesn't take very long at all, where Jackson Hole's aerial tram lifts 100 riders at a time up the 4,100 feet of vertical in just 12 minutes. Once you get your skis on and begin making the descent down, it's very likely you won't be able to see anything in front of you. That's because of how high the elevation is at Rendezvous Bowl, where this area is normally engulfed into the clouds and typically has extremely high winds. This causes much of the snow to be windblown, and moguls frequently form here due to the high number of skiers and riders that make their way down Rendezvous Bowl. Once you make it off the bowl, you can take the Rendezvous Trail for an easier experience, and then find a number of runs to make it to the base. One thing's for certain though, is that you'll likely be skiing some powder for all 4,000 feet thanks to Jackson Hole's very high average snowfall. The next run brings us back up to Canada at Whistler Blackcomb, where skiers and riders say their longest run can last for roughly 45 minutes. The Peak to Creek run is divided into 2 sections, an upper and a lower, that are each 5.5 kilometers long, making the whole run 11 kilometers or 6.8 miles long. This is one of Whistler's most famous runs and is an intermediate trail where you can pick up a lot of speed. Peak to Creek typically gets groomed overnight, but on the lower section, moguls often start forming later in the day. Whistler has a Peak to Creek race every year where they have professionals see how fast they can make it down the run. People say if you can do it under 15 minutes, you'll have bragging rights. If you do it under 10 minutes, many people probably won't believe you, and well, if you're a professional, you may just be able to do it under 4 minutes. This run is also best to be done in high visibility when you can see out into the valley and the surrounding mountains for the whole run. Our 7th longest ski run brings us down to South America for the longest ski run in Latin America, which is located at Termas de Chillán Resort. Here at this resort, the run Las Tres Marias stretches for an insane 13 kilometers or 8 miles. Termas de Chillán is probably our smallest resort on the list, where they have just 4 chairlifts, but are known for their famous 13-kilometer long run. Las Tres Marias is a red trail, which means it is an intermediate to advanced level ski run, where the majority of this run is small and smooth bumps, which last for kilometers. The final section of the run is out of the alpine and takes you through a native forest, winding through trees, before you finish at the base and back to the El Tata chairlift. Because of the high alpine this run starts out on, you can expect windy conditions and probably some wind-blown snow. Our next run brings us back up to Canada for the longest ski run in North America, which takes place at Revelstoke in British Columbia. The last spike run stretches for an insane 15 kilometers or 9.3 miles. Revelstoke is known for having the biggest vertical descent in North America, so it's no surprise that a peak to base run here is also the longest run in North America. This run cuts back and forth across the massive mountain, adding even more distance to the run. The last spike is a green run, so the difficulty never gets too extreme, other than the fact that your legs will be burning by the time you make it even just halfway down. Because this run is groomed, however, all skier levels and families are able to enjoy the longest ski run in North America and take in the breathtaking views of the valley below and the surrounding mountains. Now kicking it up a level, we go out to the Alps in Europe for our 5th longest ski run. The run Schwarze Schneed at Soden Resort in Austria stretches for an insane 15 kilometers or 9.4 miles long. Schwarze Schneid stretches from the very top of Rettenbach Glacier at 3,340 meters and cuts across a glacier slightly before extending its way all the way down to the base at 1,370 meters, which makes for a 1,970 meter or 6,400 foot drop. The run is actually not too steep or challenging, and most of the run stays groomed, making for a long run of carving. Schwarze Schneid is also the longest run in the country of Austria. If intermediate groomed runs that feel endless is your thing, then this is certainly the run for you. The fourth longest ski run in the world is in a country that isn't typically known for their skiing, Bulgaria. The run numbered 1 at Bansko Resort in Bulgaria stretches from the very top of the mountain to the base, accounting for 1,664 meter vertical descent or over 5,400 feet and a staggering 16 kilometers or 10 miles in length. Run 1 starts in the Alpine, but most of the run stretches through a pass in the trees. Bansko sometimes has variable conditions on the bottom part of its mountain, which are accounted for by a large number of snow guns that keep the entire mountain fresh. Essentially, the entire run is groomed, but later in the day and on powder days, moguls can start to form. Bansko also offers night skiing once a week for the bottom 7.5 kilometer section of this run, which is plenty of terrain for night skiing. Bansko is the largest resort in the country of Bulgaria and certainly has one of the most impressive vertical descents in the entire world. The third longest ski run brings us back to the Alps in France, where the run La Sarenne and the Alpe d'Huez ski area stretches for an insane 16 kilometers or 10 miles, and it's all relatively steep. This run has a vertical drop of 2,000 meters or 6,500 feet and is the longest on-piste black run in the world. When you're on the top of this run, you're so high that it's said you can see a fifth of the whole country of France. The top section of this run is pretty steep and wide, but the rest of it mellows out for an average 12.5% vertical drop. The run gets groomed most nights, but moguls often appear because of the number of skiers that want to try out this run, and that the middle to lower sections are somewhat narrow where there's not as much room to turn. As mentioned before, the run is labeled as Europe's longest black run, but the bottom section of this run definitely becomes pretty flat. The second longest ski run is so long that it ends in a different country from where it starts in. This is the longest red ski run in the world and stretches from the top of the Klein Matterhorn Glacier in Zermatt, Switzerland, and extends all the way to the base of Cervina in Italy. This run is an absurd 22 kilometers or 13.6 miles long and has a vertical drop of 2,359 meters or 7,740 feet. A frequently asked question is if you have to take your passport with you on this run, and the answer is technically no, unless you get stuck in Switzerland or Italy overnight and need to take a taxi to the other country. Skiers and riders say this run takes about 3 hours to complete, so I wouldn't assume this is a run you could do multiple times in one day. If you truly do go the entire 22-kilometer route, you'll have to make it to the bottom in time to take the lift back up the mountain to get over to the Switzerland side before the mountain closes, because the taxis to go back and forth are very expensive. This run is always groomed and has some decent downhill parts, but much of the run seems like more of a path to get to another mountain than it does a true downhill ski run. The longest ski run in the world feels much more like a true downhill ski run, which is absolutely insane because it is 23 kilometers or 14.2 miles long. This run is known as Vallée Blanche in Chamonix, France, and takes most skiers and riders a full day to get down. One of the most impressive details about this ski run is that it takes just one lift to get you from the base to the top, which is a tram which takes you over 2,700 meters or 8,858 feet from the valley bottom in Chamonix. Once you make it to the top of this tram, you'll be right next to Mont Blanc, which is the highest mountain in the entire Alps mountain range. Most skiers and riders go down this run with a guide because of the crevasses that exist within the glacier. It's required to have backcountry gear when you're descending down the mountain as well. Before you're able to get your skis on, you have to walk down a very narrow ridgeline that definitely isn't for people who are afraid of heights. There's lodges throughout the run where skiers and riders can take a break from the long descent, and you can even stay here overnight. If the snow conditions are really good, you can ski all the way down to the valley in Chamonix, but if it's early or late in the season and there's no snow near the bottom, you can take a gondola up to a road where a train awaits that brings you back down the valley and back into Chamonix. This truly may be the most iconic ski run in the world. You may have noticed that Europe has most of the longest ski runs in the world, but it is still way cheaper to ski in the Alps than it is to ski in North America. The reason behind this is actually super interesting, and you can find out exactly why in this video right here.